you. I'd like to welcome in retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, Senior Fellow at Defense Priorities and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Lieutenant Colonel, great to see you again. I know we talked about this last week. We know the final details are being negotiated on a ceasefire. What do you think it will take to finally get this over the finish line if it does?
Well, I don't see us any closer, frankly. In fact, I think that it's actually moving further away because you still have the main issue, frankly, that both Hamas and Benjamin Netanyahu are still not willing to negotiate on key aspects of it. Netanyahu says that he is not willing to compromise on the location of some of the Israeli security forces when they withdraw back to some of the lines that are proposed, and he says he's just flat not willing to compromise on that. And then, of course, you see when they continue to launch these, preemptive strikes, as they called it here, and there's also concerns about the ongoing fight in the Gaza Strip area there. But as your correspondent mentioned a second ago, we're also still waiting on what's going to happen from Iran. And Iran today reiterated that an attack is coming. They say that we're not going to be dissuaded from that. Doesn't matter what kind of negotiations are going on. They felt like what happened in their capital city is something that has to be responded to. And then you see, frankly, it's not necessarily a good sign that when we move so much power with those two aircraft carrier strike groups in the area, we're I think, sending a signal to Netanyahu that you don't really need to worry about compromising because if anything happens, we've got your back like we did the previous time. And that doesn't really lend itself to good negotiations, frankly, or give him any motivation to. And so I don't expect that there's going to be any kind of ceasefire anytime soon.
So, Lieutenant Colonel, what do you think keeps going wrong with these talks? I mean, does a different negotiating entity possibly need to be at the table? What keeps going wrong?
Well, I think that Israel just doesn't want a ceasefire. They want a military victory, and they want to start with a military victory in the Gaza Strip. Although, as I've been telling you since last year, I don't think that it's militarily unattainable what they're trying to do, but they still want to try. And then the other aspect of it is that there's so many other players involved with this that keep getting attacked, especially the Hezbollah commanders being assassinated in Beirut, the Hamas leaders being assassinated in Tehran, and many others. There's like scores of them. And as long as you keep doing the things that submarine any kind of chance at a negotiated settlement, it makes it look like one side doesn't really want it.
Lieutenant Colonel, realistically, how do you think this ends?
I don't think it ends at all for a period of time because there's too many tit for tats going on, and you see this latest one with the Hezbollah. It's been going on back and forth at a relatively contained level all the way back to October of last year, but it's been escalating in how big it's getting. And as you also mentioned here, both Netanyahu and Nasrallah from Hezbollah both said this is only phase one of their response. So we're expecting even more to be coming between the two sides on this account, aside from what Iran's going to do. And, and you also have people in the region, and all the people in the region want this to be over. Nobody wants it to continue. But until Israel decides that they're willing to have a negotiated settlement, that they can reach their objectives by diplomacy instead of militarily, then it's not going to stop.
Do you think that the level of support for Israel from the U.S. will ever decrease? Obviously, the U.S. is Israel's biggest ally, but we also know that there is an upcoming election. There is potentially a new administration.
100%. That is a big issue. There was lots of dissatisfaction at the Democratic National Convention last week because there was a number of Democratic leaders, to include Kamala Harris, that made comments positive about the Palestinian side, but no concrete actions that would be seen to help them, actually. And I saw some interviews with some of the Democratic voters who are supporters of the Palestinian side were not happy with that. And we've seen in the primary process that a lot of them showed at the polls that they're dissatisfied. Now, whether that's going to transfer to the general election remains to be seen, because there's lots of issues, that each person has to decide what's going to be their deciding factor. But it's not unrealistic, especially if the body count keeps piling up on the Palestinian side and if these shots and wars keep expanding in the area. It's uncertain how the Democratic voter base may react to it.
And Lieutenant Colonel, I do want to shift, obviously the anniversary of that chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. What lessons were learned from that mission?
I think one of the lessons that should be learned is that, all of these fears that people kept having that if we withdraw, it's going to cause a spike in all kinds of other terrorist threats against the United States, et cetera, have not borne out. And we haven't seen any increase in the terror threat to the United States. And I was arguing literally since 2009 that our troops there don't keep us safe here. That's not how we save ourselves from terror strikes. We have a good plan that is global in nature and is still very effective. And so we don't have to have troops there. And I think that this has proven it. Although some people still want to say, no, some have even argued we needed to go back. I saw David Petraeus a month or two back actually said he was not for the withdrawal and wishes we were still there. But I just don't see any benefit to the United States for being there. And that's why we should withdraw from Iraq and Syria for the same reason.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you for your time.
Thank you.